Hey, all right. Starting the official live broadcast. We'll see how this goes. Technically, I already started this earlier, but it was set to private, so no one was around to listen to it. But if you're around now and you have any questions, you know, ask away. Let's see. I've been doing a lot of field work. I know there hasn't been very much videos up there, and I apologize. There's obviously the corona and rioting and stuff like that, but I have been out in the field. There's been a lot going on. Um, I've been trying to figure out exactly how I want to present the videos in longer documentaries or in short ones, or maybe both. So it's kind of something I'm figuring out. So I do have a lot of footage and stuff at this time. Stuff has been exciting. Just 2 days ago, in fact, I was down with the Glen down on the Arkansas River, and it was kind of our first time trying to use a kayak, a two-person kayak, to go down the river. And our intent was to be able to scope out the river and find these like breaks that look like almost like blinds that we've been finding that have been really intriguing us, along with like footprints and stuff like that. So we decided to give it a shot, and we were pretty confident in ourselves. But let's just say the uh, the river humbled us for sure, and we got humbled. In fact, in the first like 5 minutes, we got dropped off. We were like, let's go all the way down. We're gonna make it down to the Pebble Reservoir, and we began our journey. And I was in the front, he was in the back, and we started heading down. And then in the beginning, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was clear like we didn't know what we were doing. And we started getting to this area where there was like a bunch of like like just down trees on one side with their roots sticking up, and a bunch of other ones on the other side. So it was like a small little choke point, and it turned sharply. So I was like trying to guide us through to get through the middle of this, and we go through, and I'm like, we made it. But then all of a sudden, the current just takes us over to like the right, which is basically the bank, and there are tons of these Russian olives. They're just sticking right out, like from the bank into the water. And of course, that's what we're looking at, is Russian olives that have been broken down. And so it's ironic that that's what we happen to be like just tumbling into. This is what the fate of the river had decided for us. And of course, I'm in front. So once I realized, after like a few times trying to get away from these, like all these Russian olives, I realized I can't. And so I just brace for impact. And so we're going in, and I just hit bang, 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 and then I see this huge one, like it's maybe like that thick, and I'm like, well, I'm not going through that one. So I just prepare to like hit it, and I just turn it off. It just like hits me, I guess. I guess I hit it, but it felt like it was, coming after me. And I just hit this thing so hard, like bam. And I got a bunch of scars. They're not bad right now. They were worse before. It's healed up pretty quickly. But luckily I'm wearing gloves. And so I just grab onto this thing. So I'm thinking, okay, well, at least I can hold on right now, and we can see what to do next, right? And it just took a few seconds of holding on as I'm trying to think, like, what do we do next? That I start feeling the kayak just leaving me. It's just sinking. And all of a sudden it's going ahead of me, and I'm like, all right, well, time to get the kayak, because all this stuff is just starting to like float away. And so I just jump, I just let go of this branch and like push myself off and just grab onto the kayak and start grabbing onto all these items. Luckily, like, I put my pack on just in case something like this happened. It happened a lot sooner than I thought it would. And I just grab onto the kayak, and I'm trying not to let it sink or go forward, and Glenn and I are just trying to push it to the bank. Now the bank, right, you think the bank would be easier. It's not. Okay, the bank in this section is about 1.5 feet high, vertical, before you can even reach the land. So it's like a terrible place to try to like get off. Like the kayak's just submerged pretty much at this point. And this, around this bend that it's going to, is where a bunch of debris has been caught. And it's just like spikes, like phalanx, because there's just so much stuff going on, right? Like that have been caught there, that it's just holding on, like just out like that. So we don't want to go there. So eventually we have to go over to the side and pull it out. And I have to jump up and like just pull this whole thing full of water, and Glenn's trying to get out, and we eventually are successful. But it was pretty difficult, and we made it down at like a good segment of the river before we gave up. Like we were beat. We found some cool stuff, but we gave up. Oh, looks like there's someone here. Let's see. Hello, Nate from Michigan. Okay, so that's a good question. So actually, in one of our interviews with Dakota down in the Fremont area, down by Canyon City, he and his former girlfriend at the time were actually out in an area where teenagers go a lot to go party. They call it Party Rock because it's a rock with graffiti and like a place to make a fire and stuff. And they were there by themselves one night with a fire, and sure enough, they saw like a snow white, like Sasquatch. It was completely white, and you can actually see the video. Like it's called like Snow White Sasquatch on the YouTube channel. And the other thing, so we have that, and then I found hair samples in the area where I've had interactions further up here by Colorado Springs that started with white hair and ended in darker hair, and no one's been able to identify them yet. That's going to be it's pretty exciting so far, that hair sample. But I think it might be a suggestion of age. Like how silverbacks will get old, like get the white hairs, or even we will for age. What do you think? Low crowd, probably because it's my first time. Normally, like you put like a scheduled thing on to show up, people know that it's going to happen. It's a Monday, but I figure this is the perfect day to at least test this out and actually do this to see what happens. So I appreciate that you're here, and that you're at least like a team of one. Like you're giving me something. So I appreciate that, keeping me company. But ask away. Have you had any experiences with this subject, with Sasquatch or anything like that? Oh, hey. Hello, 67 Marlins and Alan. Yeah, actually, I got bored the other day, and I actually just did this yesterday, because I was just like, what the heck, It's been a while since I've seen myself without a beard. It's going to grow back. It's harder to maintain, like this, than it is to grow out the beard and maintain, just trim it. So it'll be coming back soon enough. Do you guys have any more questions? Let's ask questions. About anything, really. It doesn't have to necessarily be about the Sasquatch. If you guys want to get to know me, ask away. So, anyway. So we're going down this river still. This happened. Oh. Well, Alan, tell me about the little ones. That it's intrigued me because I've heard it all over the place, even growing up in South America. It's good. Thank you, Matt and Reptile Z. I have been going out at night. Okay, so I've been going out at night to the areas where I think that I had these encounters before, and I've actually found finally, because it's been taking a while, because it didn't happen the exact same way that I thought it would. I thought they'd come to the exact same spot, and we'd be able to have these interactions again, and I'd be able to test new things. I'd be able to have the courage to get closer. But what happened was they didn't come to the exact same spot. In fact, it just took me till recently to realize that they actually went to an area that's further away, about 1 kilometer away, and started doing whatever they do, which I assume is hunting and just spying on people. And I was finally able to find evidence of that. And so what it looks like they do, and this is just me hypothesizing, me just guessing, is that they switch up and change up what they do from year to year. So 1 year they'll be in one area first, and then they'll go to the other one, and then the next year they'll go to that area first, then went to last time, and then back. And the other part that I've been noticing is that I've been finding this evidence that they're around about 100 to 150 yards further from where they were the year before, which if I'm correct, this is going to be really helpful for me and everyone else in the future to know like where they may come back to later. Let's see what else is going on. I'm glad there's more people asking questions. This is awesome. So hey, Hiker Dave, I'm glad you're here. I like your stuff. So the first time I ever ran into these hominids, like I got scared out, and that's because they were throwing pebbles at me, and I thought they were just like people messing with me. So I just went right into the wood line, and they got really reactive and like started shaking the scrubbo, throwing stuff at me, and like a bluff charge in the middle of the night. So that took me like 6 years before I was willing to come back and even look again, because it's really it was a scary experience. So yeah, I've been chased out. So now I'm more aware. So if I get to a position where I think that that's about to happen, where I'm about to get too close, or I'm about to corner them. So it's only like, in my experience, when you corner them, they don't have a good egress route. Will they start you like? They'll either distract you by making noise somewhere else, or they'll let you know, get away right now. You don't have to question it. You know, like they're telling you, go away. Let's see what else we have. That's a good question. Well, Matt, what area do you live in? Do you live here in Colorado? Hey, Reptile Z. So I know there's a lot of people that have talked about the UFO thing, and until like, of course, if I see evidence of that to support that, like I'll talk about it. Until then, I haven't really seen anything to connect the two. So I just try to build up like evidence first personally for me, which is anecdotal, and then I try to find physical evidence to further support it, to help to prove it to you guys. Let's see what else. So that's a good question. 6-7 Marlins. How did your military training help you in the research and evaluation of these creatures? So in the Marine Corps I did infantry, and then in Iraq, and then later in Afghanistan I did a company level like intelligence program where I basically did intelligence work with my platoon, which I really liked a lot. So I was able to learn a lot of different fields, which helped me a lot to understand, like strategies and tactics. Because these hominids, animals, we naturally will look for, key terrain. We'll naturally look for egress routes. We'll naturally look for avenues of approach, ways best to take advantage of the environment, ways best to escape, and ways best to hide. So understanding those basics, understanding how the terrain works, really helps in movements. And so understanding how an animal moves, or even we moves, helps gives us like some type of predictive understanding of where they may go next, and what they may do next, so that we can be able to get there first, or put ourselves in a place where we can get them to come to us, which is what I do with the North American hominid. Let's see what else is going on. All right. Do you think that Bigfoots can beam in and out of place? I'm not sure what that means. Can you rephrase the question, Reptile Z? Jeremy Scott, do you have any vocals recorded? I think just encountered my first vocals, or Trisfist in spring. That's cool. So the only recordings I have is the rocks being thrown at the Jeep. And again, right, that's kind of circumstantial evidence. So it's good, but you kind of have to take my word at it. So to me, I know it was real, but it's I could have just been throwing pebbles at the Jeep and recording it, right? So you kind of have to just take my word at it. So it's circumstantial, that's the total evidence. But what did you hear? What kind of things did you hear? Let's see what else is going on. I've tried using game cameras before with no success, and I personally think the reason for this, I think that if they were employed effectively, they would work. But so my hypothesis is just like any ambush predator, like be a mountain lion, or even like a gorilla, right? Like they don't like to make eye contact. Like the eyes, what can see them, and so they try to avoid the eyes. So anything like a game cam, or anything with an iris, right, that has like an eye or a reflection, is going to be avoided. I think that's just what I'm thinking right now. Like a game cam, for example, if they can track really well, which it seems that they can, they're going to see your tracks all around this one tree, right? And so they're already going to know like what tree to look at, and then to see your trail cam right there to avoid it. I mean, research the forums for mature bucks, and you'll find out that a lot of people have seen these bucks avoid trail cams and know how to go around them so that they don't get caught by like the actual camera system itself, which I think should tell us something. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, cool! Not far from Bailey. That's awesome. So a baby white coming out of the nest. So you were able to see a young Sasquatch that was white. Is that what you're saying? The Mid-Michigan Bigfoot Adventures. Oh, interesting. Yeah, like the little people, like obviously, it's something I definitely want to look into, just because there's so much about it. But and I want to hear about it, like definitely. But my main focus is going to be on this topic, and then once I understand this better and I get to where I need to be, then I can go on to other ones. But yeah, definitely the little people like is interesting. Like I could see that totally as a possibility because just the way that they're described as hunter gatherer groups, just the way they work. Oh, hey Raymond J, sorry, Marine Corps, awesome. That's good. There's stuff I love about the Marine Corps, and there's other stuff like I'm glad it's over. Like a lot of freedom. I have a lot more freedom now, but I met like a lot of amazing people. Here, I'm gonna be building a shadow box, so that's why I got like my ribbons, my stack, and then I'm gonna get the like a whole. I'm trying to do like metal plates and just have engravings of the people we lost over there, and just like build like a little case for it, and kind of do like both a tribute to myself in the Marine Corps and those that we lost. So that's a project in the works. South Platte. Oh, I believe that South Platte River loaded with. I believe that after learning about the Arkansas River and so much. Okay, so the Arkansas River down here in Colorado. So many people like locally that won't go to certain areas because they get like stuff thrown at them. They run into these hominids, and like I'd never heard of this until we started asking locally, and I was just shocked. So they're definitely along like major river systems is the conclusion I'm coming to. Let's see what else. What else do we have? Okay, so Hiker Dave, I'm glad you asked. I like your question. So the tree breaks are interesting. And that's something that I just, it's an evolving process because I've been wrong a lot of times, and I'm okay to admit that. Like the only answer is being wrong a bunch of times until we can make tests and do the same thing or observe it enough times to know if we're right. So initially, for example, like at stick breaks, I find areas where there was multiple sticks broken in one spot, and then beyond that, it was a more open and exposed area. Where, like if you went there, you'd be easily seen. So my initial hypothesis or assumption, right, was that these were symbolic marks to say, don't go beyond this for their own kin. But that obviously didn't matter because when I had those interactions with the Jeep, eventually they came right up to the Jeep and smacked it, like they didn't have this fear that I assumed would say like, well, they're going to stop right there because that's like their law. So then it eventually came to be like a new conclusion. The conclusions are being more and more simple each time. So, for example, the multi-stick breaks, I'm thinking now it's just as simple as creating like a makeshift blind, right? Like you just create a few breaks and you're going to improve, to break up your profile. And then of course we have like the smaller breaks that I still think like show as a guide to go through like this dense brush to get to places where they're staying, like their nest sites. But then, Hiker Dave brought up a really good point in one of his videos that you guys should check it out. That we sometimes find like these really big ones, right? Those really big ones that like are twisted and broken, and they don't always have like a pattern to them. Like it's not like a trail mark going to somewhere else, or it's not necessarily a representation for a boundary marker. We've come through these hypotheses many times, but he showed something that I do all the time in the wilderness to make like a makeshift like shelter. But what if all we're seeing really is the breaking of this, like a conifer tree, in order to hide from like if it's raining or if it's snowing, like a makeshift shelter basically. Because I do that. Like when it starts raining, I'll just like saw or hatchet like a small like tree, break it in half, and then pile more cedar on top, right? And we see this all the time, like in different places with primates and even humans, creating like these makeshift covers. So maybe these bigger breaks we're seeing that are just seem almost random, maybe they're makeshift shelters. And Hiker Dave goes over that like in some of his videos, and it made a lot of sense to me like when he brought that up. So that's what I'm leaning towards right now. But again, right, like it's always changing and evolving. Let's see. So Liam, so what's your take on Sasquatch being more hostile in the North and Alaska? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. You know, it's maybe because they have longer winters. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they have more competition. Because down here, right? Like they don't have to worry much about grizzly bears or wolves, other types of competition they would up north. And I'm just guessing, right? I don't know. So maybe that has something to do with it. Is the different ecosystems that are still around up there, and maybe like harsher winters. Because there's definitely plenty of food and like water. So maybe that has to do with it. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, I think. Let's see, what else is there? All right, so Alan, what do you think about using an old camera like a Patterson used? I heard they can see the infrared on trail cams. So I don't know. I mean, maybe like a more conventional film would have some benefits. I personally don't think so, but it's testable, which I like. So I think testing different ideas out is most important. As far as infrared on cameras, I think it's important to understand that most like trail cameras have a passive infrared sensor to trigger them. Okay, so that means there's no like infrared being emitted from the sensor itself. So sure, when the lights turn on, if it's at night for infrared, that'll just like turn on infrared, sure. But the actual triggering system isn't going to be seen because there's no infrared light because it's a passive system. So that kind of hypothesis doesn't really support itself when you look at how the technology works. All right, let's see what else we have. All right, and yeah, definitely like I've had a lot of activity around cliffs and here in Colorado on the southeast facing slopes where they get a lot of sun, where you get a lot of cliffs. And it's a lot of scree, so the tracks will be hidden right away, and a lot of animals will be there, and there's a lot more brush and stuff like that. Hey Mason, how you doing? All right. Yeah, so the trees being uprooted and shoved into the ground, like you don't see any of that here where I'm at. You definitely heard stories about that. And that might just be environmental, right? Like here in the Rocky Mountains, they wouldn't be able to do that effectively. So that's probably why we don't see it. Because there's just like hard ground, so even if you could just rip out a tree and flip it over and throw it in, it wouldn't stay because of the type of terrain. So that might explain why we only see that in certain like regions. Let's see. So, Bigfoot believer. So infrared, right? Like will definitely give your location away. Like if it's actively on. We can see infrared to like a pretty good degree. I remember like on my MVGs when we were in the Marine Corps, like there was like a filter that it was like you couldn't see it, but most consumer, even pro consumer, and professional like infrared, you're gonna be able to see it. And the brighter and stronger the infrared light is, you're gonna if you can see it, imagine like an apex predator that can see really well at night. They're definitely gonna be able to see it. Let's see. Jeremy Scott. I've seen recently a man making tree break sounds with his mouth, and he made a good point that randomly find a stick that's able to make a tree knock sounds unlikely. Thoughts? So the tree break noise. Sometimes I think they're actually trees being broken, but we've had other incidences, and I'm just again right. This is just my guess, where people have had testimony where they see one like. One walking through the woods, smacking trees, making like a tree knock noise. We have also other ones where they're making almost like a noise with like their mouth. So it could be multiple reasons for multiple functions of why we're hearing this. And so it's definitely happening, I think, but I think there's a lot more we need to learn and know about before we can deduce what that actually might be. But it's a good question, like, because there's a lot of stuff we don't know. Like, a lot of this, remember, like, I'm just guessing, right? I'm just guessing, and I try to guess with assumptions that I can go and test, hopefully in the field, either right now or in the future when I have, like, the right gear or location time. Oh, let's see. Yeah, so maybe storage of food, Liam. I think that's a good hypothesis. Again, that's stuff that you'd have to go do more observations and see what might be the reasoning. Maybe there's more hunting there. Maybe like there's more aggression because of interactions with people in the past. There's all kinds of scenarios and functions that could maybe have bring that reason. All right, let's see what else. Let's see. Yeah, so there's just a lot of stuff we don't know, but the exciting part is that a lot of the stuff that we do talk about is testable to some degree. Like it's either through observation or through experiments and stuff like that. Disclosure. Well, that's a tricky one because I personally think we have more than enough evidence to say like this hominid exists, like more than enough to substantiate it. So really, like what it comes down to is like public interest and people willing to actually look at it that had the authority to recognize it, right? Because all of you, most of you that are here, like we recognize this species, we know it's real, and I think one of the main reasons why it hasn't been realized sooner is because of our own like kind of arrogance, where we assume we know everything, so we dismiss whatever may seem weird or out of place out there. So I think really what it's going to take, and this is my goal and my assumption, is building up those bonds with these groups. Like getting to the point, just like you would any like hunter gatherer group that's never been contacted before by outsiders, or any chimpanzee or gorilla group. You just have to work up that trust, and over time gets close enough to have these interactions, and eventually be able to get trust enough to use camera equipment and document them in their natural habitat. Now, obviously, this is going to take a long time. There's definitely risk involved. Like at Jane Goodall, like she got hurt a couple times because she got too close too soon. Like the interactions and communications break down the closer you get. This has been like a big fear of mine, having these interactions and being really close. And this is something that like you have to have a lot of courage and realize the risks, because there are risks in this, because there's this communication like barrier that we're trying to understand, them, us, and us, them, because it's not just they have to trust us. It's a two-way street. We have to trust them to get closer. And so that's why I think we have a lot of the times this occurrence where a lot of people, we have like the same interactions. We have the same type of, patterns we're seeing, but we don't take it the step closer, because the step closer is scarier, right? Like, because a step closer from getting pebbles thrown at you, them coming up like when you're sleeping and smacking things or touching your tent, that's you guys be like getting closer to one another and interacting, and gets scary, right? Like who's ready to go in the middle of the night into like some wooded area where you can't run away easily, you can't see anything, and try to communicate with a 10-foot apex predator that can see you? easily, has full capabilities, and try to like establish some type of dialogue, right? So it's natural why this hasn't happened uh, anytime sooner, right? And maybe it'll take a lot longer for it to happen, because I know even when I'm in those positions and I know like what I want to do, it's still really intimidating. All right, let's see what else is being asked here. So Mason, good question. So the Day Watcher, it's really like a strategic move that most animals, especially like in like social settings, like your groups use. We use it all the time. It's just post. One of them is staying around in an oversized position to see if there's any danger around, and then alerting the rest if there are, so they can move out of the area before anyone gets there. Like, it's something that's been done by countless animal species, and ourselves included. So it's no surprise that we see this in the North American hominid. Oh, Cameron's Pass area, huh? Interesting. Yeah. Well, if you guys have like any encounters or know someone that has had them, especially here in Colorado, let me know. Like, just send me an email. Either at encounters@modernexplorer.me, or you can just send it to me personally at mateo.arguello at modernexplorer.me. So I want to hear about it. It might take me a long time to get back because I'm so busy, but I'm trying, and I'll forget. So if I haven't messaged you or emailed you back in a long time, send me another one. And I'll like get to it, because I just get like, it just starts stacking up, and I'll forget. And it's not that I don't want to respond. I just forget, because it's just a lot of stuff going on. So I apologize about that. Bigfoot believer. So I normally at least carry a knife, and he asked, the elders in Northern California told me never to carry when in the field. What's your thought on that? I would say it's up to you. I mean, because at the end of the day, interactions, I believe, are going to occur based on how you're feeling and your like micro movements and expressions and behaviors. So if carrying like a firearm makes you feel more comfortable and less aggressive, then I say do it. And I'm a big advocate in being able to protect yourself in some way or fashion in the wilderness. So if not carrying one makes you more aggressive and more on edge, that's probably going to be counterproductive if you're trying to get close and have interactions and with this hominid species, in my opinion. So I guess it's relative, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, like, I normally carry some type of weapon for protection when I'm out there. Oh, let's see what else. So Zakush, what do you think when you hear people with sightings in a relatively urban area? Do you think it is even feasible for Sasquatch to be in places that are not extremely remote? Okay, so this is a really good question, because this question, honestly, this was one that kind of like plagued me, and was one of the reasons why my incident when it occurred, why it was so traumatizing for me. So when I first had my encounter, it was in the foothills along by Colorado Springs. Okay, and I would hear encounters about people running to them in Garden of the Gods, and I just scoffed at them, and I thought they were crazy. Like, they wouldn't be that close to cities, because in my mind it had always been, well, they're going to try to stay away from us because we're human and we're dangerous, so they're going to be trying to avoid us. That was my assumption, and it was a wrong assumption, but it was something that we see all the time in other types of animal species. But we also see much different behaviors in other species like deer and rabbits and all kinds of other mountain lion, like, come into the city just because it's more favorable for them. But I didn't realize that at the time, and I just thought, like, if something like that did exist, it'd be trying to stay away from us. So when I had my encounter, it was relatively close to the city in the foothills. Again, right, like, they have the whole like 2 million acres national forest behind him, but the fact that it was happening there in an area that I thought was like my backyard, like, really made me feel insecure and unconfident. So what the testimonies at least are showing is they don't seem to have that big of a problem getting close to urban environments, and may even be incentivized to come to close to urban environments. So take the Front Range where I'm at, for example. There are tons and tons of mule deer here. In fact, like, this is one of the first areas where chronic wasting disease was identified, because they don't get hunted because they're, like, close city limits. They have plenty of food. They they have a lot of protection, and they're complacent. So mountain lion and bear will come right into the city along with a bunch of other animals, to live down here and to hunt, which I should have thought sooner. There's incentive, right, for animals that are very highly adaptable, like the ones we find all over the world, to come near urban environments. I don't know how far they're willing to go into urban environments, but if you look at the YouTube video where we talk about the Florence encounter, there's a BFRO encounter that basically said that they saw a Sasquatch in the middle of this small town that came out of a ditch. And I just a few years ago, I just scoffed at that. I just threw it off because I was like, that's insane. But then Glenn down there, he went and started asking around, and he found 4 other encounters from the 60s all the way to the 80s, totally separate, of seeing a Sasquatch-like creature in that same ditch or around it at night. So it seems plausible now. That's a lot of people to come forward and with multiple witnesses and claim to see like this hominid species in there, which blew my mind. And it looks like they're using that route to get to the Arkansas River and use this whole strip where we've been finding a bunch of evidence and footprints and stuff like that in the last couple months. So I do think they get close to urban environments. How close? I don't know. I hope not that close, because it's already, eerie enough knowing that they're nearby cities that have wilderness around them. So I don't know. That's my take on it, at least now. It's evolving. Let's see what else. So I've heard lots of cases of them intimidating animal and bird, imitating animal and bird sounds, like you mentioned with the knocks and pops. Did you encounter much of this when you were camping and trying to interact? So I never heard any mimicking. I heard one knock, but what I will tell you is to pay attention to the subtle, small noises, not the loud ones. What I found, and this is me, right, like hearing it over and over again until I was like, oh, okay, that's actually something. What seemed to really like help me, and I dismissed them at first because I would hear like little whoo, just like that. I could barely hear it. I thought at first it was just me brushing up against like the pine needles as I walked through like these saplings, and then also like little like whistles, like human whistles, just low toned. Ended up being these hominids, and in this area that I was investigating, I'm planning doing a video about it to talk about it. This is before I had those interactions with like the rock throwing and stuff like that. Other people have heard screams up in this canyon where this occurs, and the whole area is considered haunted. Like they have like rocks thrown and they hear weird noises. So there are noises being made. I just personally haven't heard that from them in that area. I have heard again like whoops and yahoos, stuff like that, but nothing imitating animals. But again, I'm very critical. So if I hear something that might be an animal, I'll just play it safe and say that's an animal. So maybe I have, but I just dismissed it. All right, let's see what else. So, Jeremy Scott, what's your opinion on the supernatural aspect of these beings? So personally, I haven't been able to see anything necessarily supernatural. Superhuman, yes, by our standards. But I'm not but again, if I see evidence of that and that builds up to that, then I'll accept it, But until then, I try to just keep it step by step. And if it builds up to that in my own, investigation and stuff, then I'll just, it just becomes part of the data that I'll try to find a way to support and prove. All right, let's see. Okay, so the hurricane trees by Patrick Noble. So Glenn coined them hurricane trees that we're finding down along the Arkansas River, and it's basically all these just a ton of breaks. Some of them look like they're for blinds. Other ones look like they're for perches. And it's really, it's I don't know what it is yet, okay? Back and forth. At first I was like, again, being critical, I was like, well, it's just probably like snow load, but that didn't add up. Then right now where I'm at is that there's evidence to suggest that it might be black bears going up there and creating nests. But that doesn't explain all of them away. That explains some of them away. And right now it's an active investigation to try to identify that. And so I don't know. But I will tell you, I'm going back and forth, because some of them definitely are, you can easily say, you know, like deduce and say, like, okay, no, it doesn't make sense why another animal would do this. So maybe it's Sasquatch, because it does look like they're creating blinds and like almost like these domiciles in these areas. But there's other ones where I'm inclined to believe that it's that it might be black bear. It's the behavior that hasn't necessarily been seen by black bear, but the principles are still there. That might be creating this. But we are bringing in experts that are curious about it, because they haven't seen it either. You know, black bear experts want to come in and like look at this to see like if what it is. So whatever it is, even if it's Sasquatch or not, like we're gonna find out something new. So that's exciting. All right, let's see what else. Hiker Dave, let's see. Okay, tell me your thoughts about the Bigfoot ape, human mixed DNA, human hybrid. I mean, that's a complicated question. So from what I've seen, like just my experience is what the behaviors we see are very much on one side, you know, like very ape, like a gorilla. So we see very gorilla-like behaviors, like throwing little rocks, running up and smacking like the vehicles and stuff. That's what gorillas do to other gorillas when they're interested in them. But then we see very human traits, very cognitive, like forethought, when we see like these stick breaks, where it looks like they're planning and building routes, you know, to get around, navigate through environments. That's a very human like trait. So I think what we see is like a mix between the two. And I think that's what we're gonna find out, because you know, like obviously like the route that this hominid species went into was being able to adapt biologically to their environment, versus we created tools to do so. So we're gonna see differences, like it's whether it's close to human or close to something else. Like it's I don't know if it's divergent or like convergent evolution. Like these are good questions, and all I can say is like I see like a mix of both, and I don't necessarily know what that means or what that'll prove to eventually be. All right, let's see what's next. Do they live in trees? I mean, I think they definitely take advantage of trees. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're a highly like evolved apex predator that has the capability of going up in trees, yeah, that's my guess. I mean, I haven't seen any direct evidence of it. I thought I did, but I've dismissed that since then. But yeah, I think so. So Alan, I live in Colorado Springs as well. I am in the southeast, and we get small herds of deer in our yard. I was walking by Sand Creek in a really thick area, and I got the blank out of me vibe. So I did. So hey, Alan, I would say look it up. So if you would have asked me like maybe like 6 months ago if I thought they'd be out there, I would just say no way. But after stuff I've been finding down like in the Kane City area, I say look, because those are like you know, highways to get through that have plenty of cover and concealment in order to hide. Again, be critical. But let me know if you find something, because I've been really shocked with what's been like the testimonials and even like supporting like evidence that's been found in areas that I never expected that they'd be at. So I've been getting my mind blowing this whole time. All right, what else? Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, I could see them like stealing dog food and stuff from Jeremy Scott and jumping over fences. So, okay, so my personal name for them, I know I call them the North American hominid, which I'm trying to coin. But personally, I call them creepers, because they'll creep up on you. Like, they'll creep up on you, and they honestly act almost like adolescents. Like, when they're trying to get your attention, they'll just keep making more noise. First, they'll start really quiet, And then if that doesn't work, they'll make more noise. If that doesn't work, they'll start throwing little pebbles at you. And if that doesn't work, they'll get closer and try to get your attention. Like it's really interesting. I had to laugh because this happened over a month and a half period of going to the same spot every night and having these interactions where they would escalate the interactions until we paid attention to them. So it's been real. I mean, it's like literally like a 10-foot like toddler almost. Obviously, if they don't want you around, like they start throwing like huge rocks and like shaking violently and like making noise. Like you don't want to be there. You don't have to question it ever if they don't want you to be around. Like you know. All right, what else? Um. Oh. Interesting. So Bigfoot believer, he was down by I'm not sure how to say this, but by Dewey's Lake by Westcliff, was fishing, and when the sun went down, about 30 minutes later, everything got deathly quiet. For about 15 minutes, dog became like Velcro on me. So needless to say, I left the area. So that actually happens a lot. I'm hoping to get some interviews of some other people soon. Thanks for sharing that story. So even up in the Rampart Range, people will go up there like fishing, and they'll stay there into the evening, and everything will get quiet. And a lot of times they'll get like large rocks or thrown at them nearby, and then like escort out. Like they'll hear something up walking, paralleling them as they leave. Because obviously like the rocks are like freaking them out enough because they're like in the middle of nowhere. Some of these small reservoirs up there, and that even happens down along like the Arkansas River. And we keep getting these baselines, like these same patterns. So it's really actually pretty exciting, like that we can just see this happening so much in these same types of environments and areas. All right, what's else? Yeah, if you guys have a story, just send me an email. You can find it like through Facebook or through I'll probably even put it like in the description, or on the YouTube channel. It'll be there too, like an email. Bigfoots are like the original ninja. Isn't it crazy how good they are at hiding? They could teach Navy SEALs a thing or two. Oh yeah, like it's still even impressive to me, like how they can go through some brush and just be so quiet. Like, so in my experience, because I've heard them walk up on me or walk away from me, they're not invaluable. Like you can still hear them, but for the size and like the kind of vegetation they're moving through, it's highly impressive. And if you watch like one of my videos on, where I kind of like just have hypothesis and conjectures and stuff, I think like it can be explained though. I mean, imagine, okay, so chimpanzees and gorillas, they can think 10 times faster than us, and their short-term memory is 10 times better than ours. So imagine us trying to be quiet through the woods. In order for us to be quiet, we have to process a lot, and it takes us like a minute to move just a little bit distance to be silent, right? And we don't have the strength and like the motor skills developed to do it effectively. Now imagine being able to think 10 times faster, like process it 10 times faster or more. And now imagine having like the strength and agility to actually execute those moves. So what would take us a minute might take them seconds. And so when you look at it in that perspective, then we can see how it's possible. Cats can do this. So if you look at one of like my recent posts in the discussion on the YouTube channel, you can see like this GIF of these cats going through like the most insane obstacles, like it's nothing. And that's because of the way their mind works and the way they process things. All right, what else? What different types do you think we have here in Colorado? I think there are at least 4. So as far as the types, I don't know. I will say this, and I'm not going to jump too far into it, just because it's it's outside like the scope right now of where I'm at, but it is of interest. And we are getting quite a few dogman reports down from the Fremont area, from people that seem pretty credible. So we're going to investigate those at a later date. But again, I don't know. So we'll see where that leads. Let's see what else. Hiker Dave, if you get a minute, talk briefly about TB structures. Okay, so I'm going to be really critical here. I had seen in remote areas that would look like something like a teepee structure, where it was enough to make me like wonder. You'd be like, okay, this looks like something else. Where it looked like three men, grown men, it would take like three grown men to move like these logs into place. And so I have seen things that make me scratch my head. But I will say this: a lot of like the structures coming out, you know, like that you see a lot of them are human made. You know, a lot of them are lean-tos. A lot of them like when I was a kid, I would go. Me and my sister would go make little teepees. They'd be partial ones, small ones, big ones, depending on how much time we had. I know a lot of people have put lean-tos up there, like that are only partial lean-tos. And they say like, well, a person would have put more, right? Which makes sense, right? From like first glance, but that's what I do. But the reason I put like a partial lean-to, because I have a tarp to put on there to tie it down to make my life easier when I'm out camping. And so even though like by itself, it just looks kind of like a skeleton, so it doesn't make sense. It makes sense when you realize there's a tarp involved. And that's the same with a lot of these other like primitive shelters that are being found. So a lot of the stuff, and like I'll dismiss, because a lot of it like is, I think, human made, just based on my own experience, based on going to like a lot of like different survival schools and just testing out a lot of these shelters myself. So I hope that's my thought in there, and that's like what I'm sticking with, at least for now. See the Russian footage of Sasquatch leaping and bounding away through trees, long arms. Yeah, that is a really good video. I mean, I wish it was better like resolution, but my gosh, like the power there, the agility, like you can see it even without like the resolution being that great. Like it's a good video. It's definitely worth watching. Hide and seek champion, no doubt, definitely, no doubt there. So from Renee, do you believe Bigfoot uses infrasound? And if so, what do you think that their intent is when using it? Possibly interactions with persons have no recall of. So, I mean, we know infrasound is definitely a real thing. We know it's used by a lot of different animals. I was just watching the Netflix on one of the documentaries about nightlife, and so like they're documenting nightlife all around the world. And I think it's like episode 6. They show like these elephants in South Africa. They literally go through this like large urban environment at night, and they barely get detected because they're so quiet. Like elephants, okay, elephants. If you haven't, go watch it. You'll see, and only a few people see them, and they're not like they're like just trying to sneak by. They're going through and like finding food and eating it as they go on. You know, like but they're not being detected. They're barely detectable because they're so quiet and it's dark. Like they barely get seen, which is amazing, right? An elephant, a whole grown size elephant. But here's the interesting thing, is at the very end, like the matriarch, like the female elephant, the one that's in charge, she sends like vibrations through like the ground, infrasound, to let the rest of the group know that are like far away that it's time to come back and continue going on the other side of the city, because that's their migration route. So I think infrasound, like I think mainly is used for communication, but as we see like with lions, that's been proven like that's used also for, you know, stunning a prey, and gorillas can do it too. So it has multiple functions. So definitely, you know, and I think maybe I've been hit by infrasound. I'm not sure. Like again, like I try to stay as cautious as I can before jumping into conclusion, but there are symptoms, and like I've had those in the past with when I heard like this crazy scream that at the time like I didn't know what it meant. So when you look it up, like what does this like crazy scream mean? It's just like a haunted forest kind of thing. All right, what else? Why do tracks disappear? Well, tracks disappear because of the environment. You know, like so if there's a lot of scree, like I was talking about before, which is basically a bunch of gravel. They're just gonna like the scree's gonna keep falling. It's gonna disappear. The track that I found by the Arkansas River, it was partially in the water, and the water is rising, so it's just eroded away right away. You know, in a lot of situations, you know, like if it rains, if there's wind, it disappears quite a bit, or it becomes like just an impression that's hard to be definitive what it is. So basically, the answer to that is the elements take it away right away, unless like it's very in a perfect location and they step in a perfect spot where environmental factors preserve it for longer. All right. The thing that upsets me the most is how the government hides and denies Bigfoot. It makes me think that possibly they're killing a lot of them. And I have heard stories of a military guy who has a PTS. So the way, I guess where I stand on this, as far as like the conspiracy of the government, I hope it's not. And if I find out that it actually is, that's what's going on. I'll turn like my whole like direction around and go against them. But I'm not. I wouldn't put it past like different departments to be aware of them, or different like industries to be aware of them. It's just not in their interest, so they find ways just to, you know, just ignore it. It just dismiss it, you know, and just like make it, you know, just make us look like we're fools, so that they can continue their business or power, you know. Because if like a department head knows about it, but it's like a lot of work, you know, like the Department of Agriculture, like think of the ramifications and how much work, how much paperwork and money would have to be done to when this thing comes to light. So I don't think it's like because being in the military, I can tell you right now, the government and military are not very organized, and they cannot keep a secret. Especially the more people that know it, the easier it's going to get out. So, like I said, like I can see I can totally see like department heads knowing of certain departments and industries, and it's in their favor and interest to keep it quiet, and so they do, and not necessarily like a huge conspiracy, just people that benefit from not saying anything about it. That's just my opinion, of course. What are your thoughts on using language as an attempt to establish contact? I have had good results with using Native American language. I mean, I think language is good. I haven't had any like actual I haven't had results from it, but what I'll do is I'll just be like, Mateo, friend, and I'll just say that over and over again, and it's mainly just to establish like a type of like words that they can recognize me for, and that are conditioned for hopefully friendly. But you have heard, there have been stories, you know, like that the language is used. We have like the what is it, the Sierra sounds. So I again, I'm speculating here, but I would not be surprised if they had a language or proto-language, because that would also explain why they're able to adapt so well, because they're able to communicate the information explicitly from one generation to the next. So, oh, it's telling me, it's giving me an error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. No idea what that means, and I consider myself a nerd. But yeah, so I say like the more evidence we can find about language, the better. I'd be really excited if we were able to like establish that they had a language, because that would just like, that's like the equivalent to being aliens, right? Like being able to communicate them with language, complex language like we have. Oh, that would be like a dream come true. What else? Do you believe in portals? I haven't found any evidence to suggest that they're coming through like something of portals. Like they're very much like part of this world, you know, like, and the reason I say that is because if like, let's say they could teleport in and out of existence of this this space, then there would be no need to use like the high ground. There'd be no need to you know, be stealthy. They could just jump in and out. So they're using strategies and tactics that are very much of a species that's bound to this plane of existence and this environment to stay safe and survive. That's again my opinion. If I see evidence of it, I'll be very excited to the contrary if it's there. What else? Have I personally experienced missing time in the field or disorientation for no apparent reason? Once. And so this was before I really even knew, like I didn't, Sasquatch was just like a fun, entertaining thing. Like it wasn't something that was necessarily real. And I was in high school. And so what I used to do in high school, and throughout all high schools, I'd go on night hikes. So I'd go deep into national forest by myself at night, do with just like a flashlight, normally like a spotlight. And which scared me after I realized they existed, because I was like, man, I was in there like for years, like just defenseless. Is I went up to north of Woodland Park, and I with some friends this time. So they had just learned that I like to go on night hikes, and so they wanted to come with me. So I was like, okay, come on. So we went high up, like I think it's 67 up north from Woodland Park, and we just stopped on the side of the road and went right up into national forest. It was winter time, and we started going up this mount, like just like this mountain, this hill, and they were taking a long time. Okay, so they were scared. They were scaring each other, and we were going slow. And I back then I was like, I want to get to the objective, and so I thought they were going too slow. So I took the spotlight that was mine from them, and I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead of them with this, and if they're actually scared, they're going to keep up with me because they don't want to be out here without any lights. Not the case. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to keep going. So they're way behind me down like this slope of this large hill, and I'm getting towards the top, and all of a sudden I just hear like this so it almost sounded like a woman screeching, but with an undertone of like an animal. And for a long time people told me it was like mountain lion, but I cross-referenced it with that, and it was definitely not mountain lion, but it was just like this tremendous, powerful roar that had like almost like dual vocal cords going on. And what was interesting, what happened to me, so I like froze. So I froze like in place, and I had like this immense fear that was generated from me, and like, because it wasn't like I lost time necessarily, but like I was aware what was going on, and I thought it was strange, right? Because I could think, right, that I was like, okay, that's weird that part of me is freaking out so bad, and I thought I was there for maybe like a couple of minutes, all right, trying to figure out like, why am I freaking out so bad by, like, I know it's a weird scream, but why am I freaking out so bad? And then eventually my friends come back up, and it was just, they were a few minutes away, right? So I was like, when they come up to me, I'm like, did you guys hear that scream? And they just laugh because they think I'm messing with them. And I was like, did you hear that scream? And they still think I'm just trying to like scare them. And then they see like my face, like it's actually like, I must have looked like pretty distraught because they've never seen me before. Because I'm like the guy that normally it's like willing to go like in the place where it's scary. And to see me like actually afraid made them really afraid, and they wanted to turn back. And so I have to assume, so I told myself back then that it was instincts. My instincts kicked in and I just froze. That's like a deer does when it feels like, like the presence of a predator. And then normally we don't feel those instincts because we're normally not in a position where something like dangerous is around that could potentially kill us, since, we're human. We don't have to deal with that often. But maybe it was infrasound, maybe it was infrasound, and if they were just a few minutes away, I assumed they would have been able to hear it, so that meant that they're probably further away than I thought. And I was just so focused in that fear, in that moment, not in being immobilized, that I didn't know it. Like, so I don't know, right? Like, it's anecdotal, like a testimony, and I don't know exactly what it meant, but it was very bizarre. And again, like, that's why I went and researched it, and all that I could come up with at the time was demons in forest, hauntings in forest, and it wasn't attributed to Sasquatch back then. Hope that helps at least a little. Let's see what else. Dave, Ryan, I have not had one come into my dreams. So, at least that I can remember. I mean, I don't normally remember my dreams. Lucid dreaming is fun though, but I have not. So, sorry about that. Hiker Dave, opinion on Dogman. Don't skirt it. Okay, so again, Dogman, I am just going to speculate but obviously, like, people are seeing something, and I really want to see its feet. Like, I really want to see, like, eyewitness testimony that saw its feet, because if it's bipedal, we're gonna tell it, like, in this back paws, right? Like, there's feet, like, it's gonna have some type of feet to have, like, the mobility to go from, you know, walking to pushing off, and that's gonna tell us a lot, like, of what it is, and if it is, you know, like, and it might be convergent evolution, you know, like, maybe it is a canine type, like, a species that you know, evolved here, like, I don't know, like, that's, but it does fascinate me. And I do look forward to talking to these individuals down south from where I am that have had these encounters with something described as like a dog man. So I'll let you know. Like, what would happen. But again, I mean, I'm willing to talk about, speculate, but my main focus is on the North American hominids. But I do eventually want to get around to that, because, you know, we just have to make one a success, one of these cryptids, and then we should have the resources and support to go check out the rest of them and really investigate everything else. All right, what else? Let's see. So avoiding cameras again. Like, I think that's from Doug. I think that again goes down to the. It looks like an iris. Looks like an eye. You know. So I put recorders out, audio recorders out, and they came right up to it, like, throwing like pebbles. No problem. But as soon as, like, a camera comes out, like, nowhere around. And I think it's, like, really simple and basic. And again, I'm guessing, and I think it's just because it looks like an iris, looks like an eye, and they avoid eyes, like any ambush predator will do. So that's my hypothesis at the time, until I can actually test it and maybe show some proof, some support. What else? So from Rich, owls. They warned I was coming in my canoe, and owl sounds on the winding river. Powerful owl sounds with branches breaking. Definitely not owls. They're light boned under those feathers. Yeah, I mean, that sounds. I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of other supporting evidence too. You know, like something breaking branches and stuff as you went through. So that's really cool. So I will say this: crows and squirrels, along with ravens, will give you away up in the wilderness. But I do wonder if they also give away Sasquatch. So I listen for them, and then I go towards them to see, like, what they're chattering at or what they're making noise to, because they'll give away anything they see that they may think is a potential danger, and that's either support, it will help you out, or when you're out hunting and you're hungry, will give you away, which has happened to me too. So that's something to always, like, you know, keep an eye on. What else? Yeah, thank you for everyone, like, asking the questions and stuff. I definitely appreciate that. I'm trying my best. I know I haven't put much content out there recently, so I do have a lot of video footage. Again, like, I'm trying to see if I just make kind of like a longer documentary out of like what's going on with Glenn and up here, or if I do, like, just short videos, or maybe both. I'm still, like, seeing what direction I go in for this. So time will tell. But thanks for being patient. I appreciate that. All right. Oh, Daver G. I think they're good, and I want to get back to you on it. But really, what I'd like to do is get to a place where I have the resources to actually employ some of these ideas. You know, because like, people have come to me like a Daver G with amazing good ideas for employing different types of audio and video equipment, camera equipment, stuff like that. But really, like for me, right, is the time and the expertise to design something, and the funds. So I really want to get to a place where that can be done, where we can actually design something. Because I think it'll work. I think, because, like, the trail cams, I think, are terrible in general. They have small sensors. They're not that well built, but it's the only thing we have. But we could build something, you know, like out of a mirrorless camera attached to, you know, like sensors and stuff. So a good one. I don't know if you brought it up, but a sensor, the passive IR sensor that's at a distance away to a target area with a camera all the way in the back with a telephoto lens. Obviously, it'd have to be a day's thing, and so if something passes by in that spot, the camera will turn on, take a picture in that area at a distance, and hopefully get something without being detected. So there's a lot of different experiences we can try, but again, like, that comes down to resources, design, and time. But I definitely want to do that, and I will definitely get back to you when I get the chance. What else? Okay, so the scream I heard, it's yes. There's one that's similar, and if you listen to one like a Dakota, so it's the one that's it says like updates and like it says like a scream with Dakota. Actually, let me see if I can just find it and put it in here to make it easier. Let's see. Where I heard, like, where you can hear a similar scream. So mine was a little more high pitched, but it was very, very similar. Let me find it for you guys. Alright. Let's get that. Come back here. Okay, so in this one, you can hear like the scream that was similar to what I heard, and also what Dakota and others have heard in the past. I hope that helps. All right, what else? Rich, I froze in my tent when I heard an otherworldly scream never heard before and knew it was Sasquatch. Yeah, you know, like it was like what I heard was a really powerful scream, and it kind of froze me, even though part of me was, you know, like the logical side of me was like, okay, I know it was a weird scream, but I don't know why it's freaking me out so bad. But it definitely had like that response in me too. So whether that's infrasound or instinct, I'm not sure. You know, it could be both probably. Let's see. What else? Vibration frequency and blurry pics. So I think the blurry pics, a lot of them, I mean, if it comes to be that, you know, like that there's something more to it, I'll be excited, you know, like I said, like if there's evidence that suggests that it's something more than what we're seeing, that's awesome, right? Like that's a whole new like field and a new science being created. But I think like, you know, blurry pics and stuff like that has to do a lot with technology, you know, like the sensor, how much lighting, the focal, the focus, so like what it has to focus on the objects in front of it. And I have a video on that you can find, like why Sasquatch is always blurry. And I think I'm gonna do another one on why, like when you zoom into like a photo, it gets pixelated, and how that works, to explain like the process of that and how like it just deteriorates the closer when you zoom in. All right, what else? God himself. Mateo, how about a 30-day expedition with plenty of food, no survival into their territory? We could all chip in and make it happen. Okay, so obviously time, right? Like 30 days is good. But what I have found to be the most effective is find a place that's nearby you where you can go all the time. So, okay, so this is an important strategy that allowed me to be successful. So when I realized like I had these experiences, I understood some baselines, you know, like that if there's cover concealment, they'll come up to you. If you're there a lot, they'll get more comfortable with you, and eventually like they'll interact with you. But the big part of that was because it was an area that I went to over and over again. So my first two encounters, it was because I was going to the same spot like almost every single day for like 6 months. Okay, so I think the most, like, in order to have success, you have to pick a spot and go to it over and over again until something happens. And that's going to increase your chances of an interaction, of an occurrence. And so it's like a guessing game. Like it took, like, for me to reproduce it again on purpose, it took me like 3 months of going to the same spot every other night for like months, right? So it's either you have like luck encounter or occurrence, or you have to build it up through time and effort. So honestly, like 30 days is good, but it would need to be in a place where you can get to easily and you have conveniences. So you have to incentivize your own behavior to be able to get there often. Because if you don't have that, then you're not going to be able to visit as much, and your opportunity and chances dwindle. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. So the samurai chatter might be like the proto language or the language, and I hope it. I hope it is. I hope it's what we think it is, and I hope they do have language, because that's, like I said, like that'd be like equivalent to meeting aliens, like another species that you can communicate to in a complex language. Like that would blow my mind away. I mean, all I can do is hope, and if I find personal evidence, I'd be super excited about that. What else? Do you believe they migrate, whether for food, climate, or mating? So I don't think, and it might be relative to location. Like, so here in this area, it looks like the migrations are relatively, it's like they have the same circuit where they go, around, and they go to the same areas, relatively during the same seasons. And what it looks like here, and I'm still investigating this, but it looks like they actually go up in elevation for winter. And I don't know what they do for winter. And this is like a really big, like, open question that's been puzzling me, is what do they do in winter? Like, if they're actively hunting, we should see a lot more tracks through the snow, but we don't normally get that many reports of tracks during winter. So something else must be going on. Because if they're actively hunting, or even like trying to forage during winter, where are all the tracks? Like, we don't see them that often. So that means they're doing something else, and that is going to be a huge, and I think, like, really unique answer when we figure out like what it is that they're doing during winters. What else? Oh, Dave, you definitely sound hairy. Looks like Sasquatch has some competition. Well, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, for God himself, I'll chip in for a 30-day expedition. Well, like we'll see what we can do. Because I am trying to get like the people that have the resources and the gear and expertise, so we can actually take action and actually do some of these things. Because we have a lot of good ideas, but what it comes down to, we just don't have the time, the resources, the equipment, or the expertise to get it done. So I am actively trying to get that done, and I am making headway. It's still going to take some time, but I do think it can be accomplished, and we just have to be patient and just do it one step at a time and make this thing happen. Because we're close. We're all close. We just have to organize and do it. All right. What else? Yeah. Well, I've been in the one of the things to test, like, kind of like my survival skills, and it wasn't necessarily primitive survival, it was just like living up in the woods, is I went up on Pikes Peak on the east side at 10,000 feet, and survived there, like, in like a little shelter I built for most of winter. I started in November. It was pretty nice, and it was a humbling experience. Like, I had to learn like the hard way. So even though I tested a bunch of stuff like in controlled environments, in drier areas, it was a lot different up there because it was wetter. It was a different atmosphere, and but it was a good experience. But the whole time I was also on edge. Like, I didn't. It was less of like a shelter, more like a fort, because I knew these species existed. And this was like, I was terrified of them because I didn't know what to do if I ran into them. There was like a wild card. I didn't know their capabilities. I just knew like they trumped mine, any capabilities I had. So the whole time I was up there, I was always looking over my shoulder, and I realized I got like PTSD from my experiences, and the reason I was so afraid of them is because I didn't understand what to do, right? Like, I didn't know what to do, like, if I ran into them. Like, you run into a bear, right? You know what to do. You get big, don't turn your back to it, same like a mountain lion. But what do you do when you run into this hominid species? If you need to like get away or avoid it, right? Like, if it's like anything like a primate, are like a gorilla. You look into it, you look big, and go look into its eyes and try to be intimidating. That's like a challenge, right? So that's why I'm on this quest to better understand and learn like their behaviors, so I can feel safer in the woods again. You know, and I have gone to a lot better. You know, like I feel a lot safer. I'll go at night now in there. Finally, like it took me like what now it's like 6, 7, almost 8 years to be able to do that. But that's like a step forward. So it's not just for me, right? It's going to help me personally to be able to understand them and their behaviors and see that they're not monsters and understand how they work as a species, so that I can avoid them or know what to do if I run into like a potentially hostile situation, and everyone else too, because there's a lot of people out there that, you know, we've been traumatized by these experiences because we don't know what to do now that we know that they exist and how to feel safe in the woods. So that's one of my main goals, is to feel safe in the woods again, and I think a lot of other people are in the same boat. All right, what else? Oh man, Rich. Yeah, that's definitely scary. Oh, they're definitely trying to get your attention and tell you something. I'd be terrified. At least like when I had like something like that happen to me, I could just run to my car, and I did. Like I just ran out. Like I was like, I'm not even gonna stay there. You know. Yeah, having branches breaking next to your tent, and then you felt its nose and face were leaning it into your tent entranceway. Yeah, that'd be scary. Realizing something that's so big and so powerful, so close. Um, so Bigfoot believer, let me know what you find out from that. About the Bigfoot names, like different names. So I've just heard like the regular ones, so like a booger, Sasquatch, stuff like that. But let me know what you find out. Something that might help is when I was researching them in South America. So I grew up in Ecuador. My father's Ecuadorian, my mother's from here from Colorado. When I was looking for, like at researching like why don't you hear about them in South America, I stumbled upon the answer, and the answer is because they're you don't see them as Sasquatch down there, because heavily Catholic down there, you see them more as witches and demons. So I would find descriptions of them and behaviors, but that they be attributed to witches or demons or evil spirits. So that might be something that might be helpful to find like names. So less the name itself and more like attributes that are normally like seen with this hominid species might help find it. But let me know, because I keep going to the library and looking through the archives to try to find stories historically for the area. But I just have to find like the actual right name for them to get a ping and to be able to research historically in the region. So let me know what you find out, because I would, that's going to help me out too. So thank you. What else? Oh yeah. So Fergus talks about like the theory that like lithium batteries may like like they might be aware of that. So we know bears, right? Like bears can, lithium smells like tasty, like good to them. It's so sweet to them. So they'll go and like just rip up trail cams. And so if bears can smell it, who's this? For sure, like other species can smell it too, to either eventually learn to avoid it, or as bears do, they're notorious for ripping down trail cams because they can smell the lithium batteries, and the ones that have lithium, and like they'll just go in there and like rip it to pieces. Give me 1 second. My battery's about to die on my camera. I need to go put the charger in. 1 sec. All right. Almost there. Thank you for your patience.
back in business. Let's see what's next. Oh, Dave, I'm sorry you're in a bad place. Hopefully things can get better for you. It's okay. I appreciate all the support and everything. Like well, I get like thumbs down, hate messages all the time. So I've learned just to let it go. I don't take it personally, because at the end of the day, like we find facts that lead to truth. That's what I'm after. That's what a lot of you are after. So it's fine. Like it's not gonna stop us. It's not gonna stop us from continuing on and finding the truth, finding the facts, because that's what we want, right? We want to know, like the search for truth, knowledge, and freedom. The Epic of Gilgamesh. That's where I got that one from. All right, what else? Oh, well, Dave, he says he's gonna convert his he got like a van into a home. I think that's a good idea. So what I did to my Jeep, and you can actually see a video on it, is I have a Jeep Cherokee 99. I have a love-hate relationship because it's always breaking down because it's a Jeep. But what I did is I put like a bed system in there with that folds out, and like a freezer that's connected to a solar panel deep cycle battery with a whole kitchen system. And then I also put a hot water shower that uses a heat exchanger with the engine to heat up the water. So it has like a rough exterior to Prince's interior. I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, when I'm in the wilderness, I'm like a savage, and then when I'm down here, I'm kind of like a princess. So the Jeep really reflects me. So it's convenient, nice. A van has a lot more space in it. The problem with the Jeep is that there's not that much space, but it gets me anywhere I need to go. So I think it's a good idea. I like it. I mean, pros and cons and everything, but I think you got it. Oh, hey, yeah. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Jan? It's good to hear you. Sorry I did not email you back. I apologize. I just remembered now when you wrote. It's good to see you. Awesome. So, do we have any other questions or anything else for tonight, or should we call it a night? I probably will go out tonight and go hiking around and see if I get any interactions. So, any last questions? Let's give it a few minutes and see what we have, and then we'll probably call it a night. And I appreciate everyone coming and talking. Renee, do you think the number of Bigfoot is much greater than most people estimate? So I personally think so. So what I think, and this is again, I'm just guessing. I think that there's I think they're like an apex species. I think they're highly adaptable. We hear about them all around the world. I think they're in high populations, whatever that means, for whatever that species means. And I think cities, I know this goes against what a lot of people think, but I think cities and human development is probably increasing their populations, just like it is with the deer, the mountain lion. Okay, the mountain lion here on the Front Range have been gathering together in groups, never before seen. We didn't think like this. They had the ability to socialize that way and work in big groups. But that's because there's so much game because of the cities that are creating like an overpopulation of like deer, an overpopulation of rabbits and stuff. So this is just going to incentivize other animals to come here, and their populations are going to just boom. Not every animal is going to do that, right? Because it depends on how well they can adapt. But the adaptable animals that we see, like coyote, bear, deer, rabbit, you name it, ones that you see all the time, those are highly adaptable animals. And so if they're adapting, we know Sasquatch, I think we can say safely, is a highly adapted species for all environments and climates. And so I personally think that they're on the rise. Their population's on the rise because of human intervention. That's just my personal opinion. And hopefully, I think in time we'll find out for sure. What else? Oh, rough guess? I don't know. I'm sorry. Rough guess on the actual population. That I would not be able to tell you. I don't know. I would have to find out what an actual like their family unit size is, and I still I don't know. Like I jump around between like just maybe like 4 or 5 to maybe up to 7 or 8. Like I don't know. I don't know that type of information yet. But that is a good question, and it's something I want to know too. All right, what else? So what I've been doing is, like I said, right, the way I've had success is I go out to the same spot over and over again at night until like I have these interactions. This year has been a little different because I haven't been able to bring the Jeep to the same spot and have the same baselines. And they're not coming to the exact same spot they did the years before. And so I've kind of just been a little lost up until recently. I finally found like evidence of where they've been at up in these areas. So I have been hiking up there every night and running around and basically just doing enough times until they either want to get comfortable or I run into them and they interact with me. And I'm hoping because they've interacted with me before and they have like that comfort, that rapport built, that they'll be willing to just jump right on it and start messing with me. We'll see. Time will tell. What else? So, why do you think Sasquatch are so curious with humans? It seems like they would want to be the opposite and avoid us. So that was an assumption I thought for a long time too, and that's why it was so to run into one in the foothills closer to like an urban environment. But I think so. This is what I think. I think one, because they're highly successful at what they do. Like they're highly successful at gathering food. I think they have a lot of downtime, and I think during this downtime, they want stuff to do. They're obviously highly inquisitive and curious and intelligent species. I mean, for all we know, there's intelligent in us, so we're going to be interesting to them. They're going to want to interact with us, and they try to. They clearly try to. There's a lot of testimony to back that up. They're trying to interact with us because they're interested and curious about us. So I think curiosity, and that's what I use. I realize that they're very curious, and that's what I use to my benefit. That's what's been successful with those interactions in the past. Is I know they're going to be curious, so I don't go looking for them. I let them come to me. All right, what else? Could Sasquatch be more forward thinking than an animal? I'm going to say absolutely yes, just because we see those human traits where they have a foresight, where they think ahead and they make decisions not in the moment, but they have planning and strategy, and that's something that we use to an excessive level. But I think we can see this in testimony and evidence with this species, and that's amazing. So yeah, I think they definitely. They have like foresight and stuff, and they think ahead. Do you think they go into cave systems in winter and have food storage from gathering, hunting, in the rest of the year? So I'm beginning to think that maybe they do, like maybe they have caches. That might explain why we don't see them during like evidence during winter. I want to find evidence of that. And I know people have stumbled on what might be interpreted as evidence of that, but I'd like to find it myself. Because if I found something like that, oh man, that would be like convincing for me. Like in one of the mountain like caverns, like up in the caves or something. We don't really have caves here in Colorado, but we do have like, like kind of like just like an enclaves and stuff like where something like that could occur. So if we found something like that, that would help support that hypothesis, and I hope we do. I hope we find something because that would help explain like what they do during winter. Because at this point here, I don't know. I don't know exactly like their patterns and what their behaviors are during winter. What else? Oh, so Jan wrote, "I heard you were looking for Sasquatch native in South America." Yeah, and I found a lot, and but they weren't under like Sasquatch. I had to, like I said before, I had to research it under behaviors and descriptions, and of this hominid, and that's what resulted in results. That's what resulted in results. Yeah, a lot of results. I do not have. I made like a little slide about it with the names. I don't know them right now off the top of my head, but I'll find them. Maybe I'll do a video later and showing like some of the names I found with the descriptions and stuff like that, just to illuminate us all that they are in South America. They're just under different names, so you just never register them when you look them up as like a Sasquatch. What else? All right, awesome. All right, I think I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you everyone that came and talked to me. I appreciate it. It's always nice talking to you guys. Thank you for the support, and we'll see about doing this again. And I will be trying to get more videos out. And of course, it all comes down to the field work. Like the big part of doing these videos and is to collect like the ad revenue in order to have the time to go out into the field, because that's what's going to bring us the answers, is the time and field work. And we're just going to get one step closer. So again, thank you all for your support, and I really do appreciate it, and hopefully we can find the answers that everyone's looking for our own reasons, and again, thank you so much, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful. Till then, bye.